Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. You're here because you want those key insights, and today we are really getting foundational.
We
We're
are.
diving into occupational adaptation OA. It's, a real cornerstone of OT theory.
Definitely.
And we're looking at it specifically through the lens of Willard and Spackman's Occupational Therapy, the 14th edition, chapter 36 to be exact.
Yeah, and we absolutely have to give a big thank you, a shout out to Dr. Jack Rulas, OTR at D. His presentation of this material was just excellent, and it's really the foundation for our talk today.
Absolutely. So our goal here, our mission, if you like, is to get past just the textbook definitions.
Right.
We want to really grasp occupational adaptation, not just as some abstract concept, but as the practical, powerful framework it actually is.
It really is. It explains how people navigate, life's challenges, the demands thrown at them.
And, crucially, how we, as therapists, can help facilitate that journey.
Yeah, and we should probably start with that powerful quote, shouldn't we? From the theory's founders, Schade and Schultz, way back in '92.
Oh yeah, that's the perfect place to start. Lay it on us.
Okay, they said, mastery is more than the ability to perform a discrete task. It is a reflection of the client's experience as an occupational being.
Wow. That just hits differently, doesn't it?
It really does. It shifts the whole focus. We're not just like teaching someone how to stack cones.
Oh.
We're helping them shape their identity, their sense of self, through becoming competent.
So to get there, we need to understand OA as this internal engine, right?
Exactly, that internal process. And then the four main parts that make it work, the core concepts.
And then the practical application, the 5 essential elements for practice.
That's the roadmap for today.
Okay, let's unpack that internal engine part first. Because OA has this kind of dual nature, right? It's doing 2 things at once.
Yes, which is what makes it so robust.
So the source material, Willard and Spackman, lays out 3 facets. First, it's fundamentally an internal process. It's what's going on inside the person when they face a challenge.
Deep inside.
Second, it's a normative human process, meaning it's normal, it's expected, it happens naturally from that back and forth between a person and their environment.
We all do it all the time. It's just part of being human.
And third, it's an intervention framework. This is the part we use, the structure for therapy, guiding how we facilitate those internal adaptive responses.
And the beauty is how those connect. The first 2 facets, the internal normative process, they combine into this core principle,
Which is
LOA, as an internal normative process. It's the result of, doing things, engaging in occupations, interacting with the environment, responding to change.
okay.
But here's the key bit the source really highlights. This internal process is a fundamental way we form our identity.
Ah, okay. So what we do, or maybe what we can't do, actually shapes who we think we are.
Exactly. That's the why of OA. It gets to the core of the person's self-perception.
It's like the difference between thinking, ugh, I can't open this jar, and internalizing, I'm becoming someone who can't manage basic tasks anymore. That adaptation, or lack of it, changes the story you tell yourself.
You nailed it. And then the second principle, OA as intervention process, that's the how.
Our part.
Our part. The practical application. The structured way the therapist engages that internal process to boost the client's ability to adapt. We're intervening to help shift that identity towards mastery, not just checking off a task.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So if the internal process is the engine, what are the components? What makes it run? That takes us to the 4 main constructs.
Yeah, 4 main constructs. Yeah, we have the person,
Okay,
the occupational environment,
got it.
occupational participation,
Right.
and then the really crucial interaction point, the press for mastery.
Okay, the first 3 feel pretty familiar from other OT models.
They set the stage. The person construct looks at their internal systems, sensorimotor capacities, cognitive abilities, and psychosocial resources. That's what they bring to the table internally.
Right, their toolkit.
Exactly. Then the occupational environment is everything outside the physical space, social stuff, cultural norms, and expectations.
And occupational participation is just actually doing meaningful things within specific roles and contexts in that environment.
Precisely. Engaging in life roles.
So those are the pieces on the board. But the action, the real dynamic part, starts with number 4, the press for mastery.
Yes. This is where the energy of the theory comes from, the press for mastery. It's this dynamic tension, a conflict almost,
Between what?
between the person's internal desire to be competent to achieve mastery in something,
Okay, that drive from within.
and the environment's external demand for that same competence and mastery.
Ah, so what the world expects or needs from you.
Exactly. Think about becoming a new parent. You have this internal desire to be a good parent, to master feeding, changing, soothing.
Right, you want to nail it.
But then the environment society, your family, the baby itself, puts this huge demand on you for mastery. You have to get up at 3 a.m., you have to figure out the crying.
That clash. That's the press.
That's the press for mastery. It's that collision between the desire and the demand. It creates this state of disequilibrium, a tension that literally forces you to adapt.
So the adaptation process gets kicked off by that conflict.
Precisely. And the source, figure 36.3, I think it is, details how this flows. The press puts the spotlight on your occupational roles, like new parent.
Okay.
These roles come with specific role demands and expectations. Some are internal, like maybe feeling guilty if you leave the baby for an hour.
Or external, like the expectation to return to work by a certain date.
Right. Those demands create an occupational challenge, something you have to overcome. And the person has to generate an occupational response.
And that sounds like a loop, if the response works.
If it's successful, great. The challenge is met. Equilibrium starts to return.
But if not?
If it's unsuccessful, the person stays in that uncomfortable state of disequilibrium, which forces them to try a new adaptive response. Keep trying until something works.
Okay, so you try something, you see what happens.
Yeah.
Now, how do we evaluate that response? How do we know if the adaptation was actually, good?
That's where the adaptation Gestalt comes in.
Just Schult.
Yeah.
Like the whole picture.
Exactly. It's not one simple score. It's the overall assessment of that moment of adaptation. It's looking at the blend, the holistic mix of the cognitive, sensorimotor, and psychosocial skills that were pulled together to meet that challenge. It's like the performance review for that adaptive attempt.
Okay, performance review. And what are the key metrics on that review? What are we looking for?
Two crucial things. These are really important for clinicians listening.
Right.
First is relative mastery. This is about the outcome of that specific response right then and there.
How did it go this time?
Yes. And relative mastery is measured by three things. Effectiveness, basically. How well did they achieve the goal? Did they do the thing?
Okay, simple enough.
Efficiency. How well did they use their resources? Time, energy, tools. Was it optimal?
Right. Did they burn themselves out doing it?
That's a good point. And the third one is satisfaction. How satisfied were they with the outcome?
Okay, effectiveness, efficiency, satisfaction. But you mentioned satisfaction gets nuanced. The book brings in intersectionality here.
It does, and this is critical. Satisfaction isn't just, did the client smile? It's satisfaction to self and dissatisfaction in relation to others or societal expectations.
Ah, okay. Unpack that.
We have to consider the person's whole identity, their gender, race, culture, socioeconomic background, everything the intersectional pieces. How do those factors and the external expectations tied to them influence their sense of satisfaction?
Give this example.
Okay, maybe someone successfully adapts to a new assistive device to return to work. High effectiveness, maybe good efficiency. But if their cultural background deeply values interdependence and community roles over individual career success?
Their personal satisfaction might be low, even if they're functional.
Exactly, or even negative. The adaptation might look successful on paper, meet the external demands, but feel completely wrong or unsatisfying based on their internal values and cultural context.
So we're asking, did they meet the goal? And did it align with who they are and what matters to them? Considering their whole context, not just our definition of success.
Precisely. Which leads perfectly into the second key measure, adaptive capacity.
Okay, so relative mastery was about now. Adaptive capacity sounds like it's about the future.
It is. It's about building the toolbox for next time. It's the client's ability to generate new adaptive responses for future occupational challenges. Did this recent adaptation experience actually strengthen their ability to cope down the road?
So they could be effective and efficient this time, but if they, say, alienated their social supports to do it.
Their adaptive capacity might have actually decreased, even if relative mastery looked okay in the moment. We want to see that capacity grow. We want them to be more resilient for the next challenge.
That completely reframes the goal of therapy, doesn't it? Not just fixing today's problem, but building resilience for tomorrow.
That's the core of it.
Okay, so for everyone listening who's thinking, right, I get the theory, how do I do this? Let's get practical. The 5 essential elements of the OA intervention framework, the how-to.
Let's do it. Element 1, holistic assessment. This isn't just a quick screen. It's comprehensive person-environment participation, but with a laser focus on the client's own self-identified most meaningful roles.
Start where it matters most to them.
Absolutely. Element 2, reestablish occupational roles. Don't try to fix everything at once. Focus intervention on those core roles the client values most, the ones really tied to their identity. Build the adaptation around those.
Makes sense. Prioritize. What's element 3?
Element 3 is huge, maybe the most challenging for therapists sometimes. Client as agent of change. Meaning, we step back from being the expert fixer. We're the facilitator, the guide, the coach. The client has to be the one driving their adaptation process. Remember, it's an internal process. We can't adapt for them. They have to own it.
Empowering them to lead. I like that. Element 4.
Element 4 is fundamental to OT. Occupations as central. We don't just practice skills in isolation like stacking pegs.
Right.
We use meaningful whole occupations things the client actually wants or needs to do as the means to elicit the adaptive response. The occupation itself becomes the challenge that demands adaptation. We're intentionally provoking that internal process through meaningful doing.
Use the real task to drive the real change.
Got it.
And the last one, element 5.
Element 5 circles back to our goals. Increase relative mastery and adaptive capacity. Everything we do in the intervention, using those meaningful occupations, is aimed squarely at improving their effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction now, aimed building that internal toolbox, that capacity, for the future.
Okay, those 5 elements provide a really clear structure.
They do, and it explains why OA has such broad application. When you look at the evidence the source mentions, it's used everywhere.
Like where?
Well, for just understanding the internal adaptation process, think about big life changes. Coping with MS, stroke recovery, TBI, just the process of aging, even the huge adaptation involved in immigration. OA helps explain the identity shifts people go through.
That makes sense. And for actual intervention.
Also super diverse, working with teens who have limb differences, rehab after hip fractures, mental health settings, school-based OT, even things like reading interventions. If the goal is helping someone master life roles and build capacity, OA fits.
So the clinical process using these elements would look like?
Pretty straightforward, really. 4 steps. First, assessment, figure out their current mastery and capacity related to those meaningful roles.
Okay.
Second, goal setting, but it's collaborative. You work with the client to define meaningful occupational challenges they want to tackle.
Client-centered.
Totally. Third, intervention, using those occupations to facilitate adaptive responses, guiding them as the agent of change.
Right.
And finally, outcomes, measuring both the objective improvements and their subjective sense of relative mastery and, hopefully, increased adaptive capacity.
It sounds really comprehensive.
Yeah.
But, as the source points out, no theory is perfect.
Mm.
There's a need for evolution, especially around culture.
Yes, and this is probably one of the most critical discussions happening in OT theory today. Cultural humility and OA.
How so?
We really have to question the default, often Western-centric, idea that mastery is always about individual achievement, getting things done faster, better by yourself.
Because that's not universal.
Not at all. The source pushes us to think about collective adaptation versus individual. In many cultures, adapting successfully might mean prioritizing group harmony or fulfilling family obligations, even if it slows down individual progress by Western standards.
So measuring only individual efficiency might completely miss the mark for some clients.
Exactly. Their satisfaction might be tied to community well-being, not just personal output. If our measures of mastery and satisfaction don't account for that, we risk imposing our values and failing the client.
Which is why that quote from the text is so important for all of us listening.
Which one?
The one that says, OA theory must evolve to embrace diverse cultural perspectives on occupation, adaptation, and mastery.
Yes, that's the call to action. Our understanding of competence, satisfaction, has to be flexible, has to be culturally informed, always.
So looking ahead, what's next for OA? Where does the research say it needs to go?
Well, continued refinement, mainly. Things like clearer definitions for some concepts, maybe more standardized assessment tools, but tools that are culturally sensitive, that can actually measure mastery and capacity across diverse groups.
More research needed there.
Definitely. More outcome studies looking specifically at those cultural variations, and ongoing development of practice guidelines to help therapists apply those 5 elements with the kind of nuance we've been talking about.
It's a living theory, still growing. What a great overview. It really feels like OA gets to the heart of identity and doing.
It really does.
So, to quickly recap the big takeaways for everyone, occupational adaptation is this dual thing. It's an internal, natural process, and it's a therapy framework.
Right.
It works through 4 key concepts, with that press for mastery really driving the whole adaptation engine.
Yep. the desire meeting the demand.
And in practice, we use those 5 essential elements: holistic assessment, focusing on roles, client as agent, using occupations, and aiming for mastery and capacity.
Always remembering that cultural humility piece when we look at relative mastery and adaptive capacity.
Absolutely.
And maybe we can leave listeners with that forward-looking thought from the material, the one that really sums up the purpose.
Go for it.
Through occupational adaptation, we facilitate not just current performance, but future capacity for mastery.
That future capacity, that's the ultimate contribution, isn't it? Building resilience.
That's the goal.
Well, if you found this deep dive helpful, please do take a second to like, subscribe, maybe share it with colleagues who might find it useful too.
Yeah, definitely do that. And also make sure you check out the OT Lyricist over on Instagram. Great content there. And some exciting news.
Oh, yeah.
New merch has just dropped. You can find the link for all the new gear right in the OT Lyricist's Instagram bio.
Awesome. Definitely check that out. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks all.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.